Hey, welcome back to the Pretty Well podcast. I'm Lisa Smith. Have you ever tried to start a morning routine? You followed either an influencer or you bought a book or something, a new journal maybe, and you're like, this is going to be it. This time I'm really going to stick with it. And then before you know it, it just fizzles out. Well, today I'm going to be talking with you about why some morning routines work and some just don't. They just never get off the mark. I have done that so many times. I can't tell you how many times I've bought a new journal, even though I don't really consider myself a journaler. I've thought this time I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a journaler. Or I've bought a new book like Millionaire Mornings and I've thought, yes, this is my new thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be super productive and effective. And I got to be honest, those things for me always seem to fade away pretty quickly. And I don't know about you, but do your mornings ever feel inconsistent or maybe even a little chaotic? Like you're trying to constantly get it right, but you're never quite getting there. It doesn't seem to all come together and stick. And have you ever made that about yourself? Things like, I'm just not disciplined enough. I never stick with it. I really should be waking up earlier to be more productive in the morning. Why can't I ever stick with anything? And here's what I want to share with you. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's not that you don't ever stick with something. It's that those routines are not personalized. They are routines that work for some people, but they don't work for everybody. And sometimes it's like we're trying to fit ourselves into someone else's routine. And it is very much like we keep trying to put a square peg into a round hole. And when something doesn't fit, but we keep trying to force it, we often find we're not questioning the routine. Heck, there's a book written about it. It's got to work. Rather than questioning the routine, we start to question ourselves. So today we're going to walk through what actually really works for everyone when it comes to mornings. Not what looks impressive, not what some influencer is telling you to do, not some new book or journal that came out, but what really works. It actually sticks and supports you. And over time, it begins to consistently shift your life in the direction you want it to go. And it might sound like I'm totally talking out of two sides of my mouth because I just told you one size never fits all. And now I'm going to tell you what works for everyone. But here's why. Because I'm going to teach you why each of these different types don't work for everyone and then what to do to personalize it, to make it work for you. So let's start with the first one, the one we all know so well. It's the disciplined, get it done mode in the morning. And that is hypervigilant, very structured mornings. You know the one I'm talking about. Get up at 5 a.m., perfectly stacked habits. If it doesn't feel regimented and hard, you're not doing it right. And trust me, I've done it too. I've experimented with the 5 a.m. mornings. Getting up in the dark, having my quiet time, checking all the things off the list before 7 a.m., feeling super productive. And when it works, it's amazing. You're super productive, you're quiet, you're focused. And by the time you start your actual work for the day, you feel like you're ahead of everyone else in the world. It does feel great. But it only works under very specific conditions. When you're well rested, when you're not overstretched and overburdened, when your adrenals aren't completely shot. But here's what I've seen happen over and over again. It starts out great, out of the gate. You're determined, you're committed. Ask me how I know. You're on it. But you're also already tired. You're already stretched and maybe a little overwhelmed. And your adrenals are already waving the white flag for help. What happens when your load is really high like that and you're trying to force those disciplined mornings? After a while, the added stress of not getting enough sleep and pushing so hard, that gets to be too much. And we tend to think of that as being really disciplined, but it's actually exhaustion. And we're putting a productivity label on it and we're saying that this is good, when in actuality, it could be the opposite of what we need. And that is why that system doesn't work for everyone. It does work for some people and it works great for those people. But for some of us, it becomes counterproductive and it increases our overwhelm even more in the long run. And our body eventually starts to veto those early mornings and saying, just forget about it. Now, keep in mind, that's not failure. That's not choosing to not be disciplined. That's literally when your body is vetoing it and saying no more. And then there's the other end of the spectrum. That's the optimized morning. That's the morning where you get sunlight first thing, no screens, no caffeine until you've had a smoothie. Everything stacks in the right order. And again, there's nothing wrong. Those mornings are beautiful when you can get up based on your own circadian rhythm and you can see the sun streaming in your window and you go out and get sunlight first and you do some grounding in your bare feet and you have your smoothie or your cup of herbal tea first. Those are great mornings. But to be honest, those aren't sustainable for everyone either. And they can become a little bit performative. We can start to think, wait, what comes first? Oh my gosh, I checked my phone. I wasn't supposed to check my screen before I had time to be still and meditate. They can also become very prescriptive and lead us to feel like we're not doing things right. All under the heading of trying to do everything right. And even in that type of a optimized morning, we start overthinking before our day even gets underway. And we think, oh, I didn't have time to ground. I didn't go out in the sun. And sometimes we even find that our to-do list is falling off the page and we're delaying it, which is causing more anxiety in the morning rather than grounding us, which is what that type of morning is intending to be doing. Are any of those things wrong? None of them are wrong. They're excellent ways to start the morning. But when we put them into a must-do category in our brain, that's when it starts to become a problem. So rather than not doing anything or doing all of them, keep in mind they're all good. It's a matter of doing them when you're able and when it makes sense to you in your life situation. So getting outside at some point in the morning, absolutely great. Getting activity, grounding, delaying caffeine. Maybe start with a cup of green tea. I once had a functional medicine doctor I was talking with, and that was when I had my coffee first thing in the morning, and I occasionally had green tea. And he made this great point. He said, start every morning with green tea first. And then if you want to have your coffee, have it second. And here's why. And once I heard this, I switched what I did, and I've done this every morning since. And I'm telling you, this has been at least 15 years since he told me this. He said you start with green tea first because the curve for the caffeine hit for green tea, because there's also L-theanine in, which is calming, is it comes up and then it plateaus and then it slowly comes down. But with coffee, the caffeine in coffee, it spikes up and down. And then you begin to feel that effect of the jittery caffeine crash. He said, so if you start first with coffee, you're going to go up and crash. And then you get your green tea that's slowly coming up and coming back down. But if you start out with green tea first and it comes up and then it plateaus and slowly comes down, then you have your coffee and it goes up and crashes, you're never crashing to the same low. Ever since I've done the whole green tea before coffee, I don't get those mid-morning crashes from coffee. Anyway, back to the types of mornings. So it's not that any of these concepts are wrong. It's when we try to do them perfectly that it becomes more about the performance than what's actually working to give us a good foundation for the day. The whole point of our morning is to lay a solid foundation that we can launch from so that we set ourselves up for the most effective, meaningful, productive day. So let's talk about a third type of morning, and this is probably my favorite of all of them. I like pieces of all of them, but this is probably my favorite. And this is more a personal growth type morning where we start at the morning with these intentions: journaling, visualization, meditation or quiet time, prayer, possibly some reading or affirmations, and then getting on more with the optimized stuff, like some grounding, some sunlight, some activity, some movement. All of these things are put together so that we have that grounded morning, that good, solid foundation to start our day off on, and that we feel more aligned as we start our day. And I've done these too. I've tried doing all of them at one time, and I've found that that is where I can get off track. That's where things can begin to go sideways. Because when you try to do it all and you're checking it off the list, that's when the morning becomes this performative, I've got to do this to become this better version of myself. And you sit down to journal, but you're looking at the clock. You sit down to meditate or have a quiet time and you put a timer on it. I call it the type A version of quiet time. Or you sit down to write 3 things that you're grateful for and you're forcing it. Or you're repeating it from the past few days and you're wondering, does this even count? Is this even really gratitude? Or am I just doing it to get it done? And you're halfway through this checklist and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, am I even doing this right? Does this even count for anything? And then those habits just fall away. They dissolve because you're thinking, this is not even worth it. This is not even effective. So instead of feeling grounded and ready for a great day, you're already starting to feel rushed and like you wasted this time just even trying to do this checklist. And it's not even 7:30 in the morning yet, and you're already not starting the day off the way you want to be. Here's the shift I found that changed everything for me. It wasn't about doing more. It was about doing just enough, but doing it consistently. One journal prompt, one moment of reflection, one main focus for my day, 1 or 2 things I'm grateful for, and that's it. This is what I found that actually works. When you peel away all of the recommendations that we've been told to do, and you find a routine that's really simple to stick with, it becomes surprisingly doable. Not 10 steps, not a lot of time, just low drama, high impact. There are a few things I've found that consistently get my morning off on the right start. First, there's a clear starting point. Not a whole bunch of decisions, just I'm going to start with this is my number 1 focus for the day. And if I do nothing else and I get this done, I'm good. Second, there's a small win early. Something like, oh, I can commit to doing this and I'm building my self-trust day after day. Third, less decisions, not 0, just less and manageable. So you're not throwing your nervous system into overdrive the minute you get out of bed. That's the opposite of start our day in a grounded way that feels aligned with where we want to go. And that's it. No major overhaul, no perfection, just steady confidence building steps that you can do day after day that don't take very much time. And here's the thing that proponents of all these morning routines don't really ever mention. And that is that the actual morning routines themselves, they don't change your life. It's the identity they reinforce that you are stepping into. That's what changes your life. Because that consistently tells your brain, this is who I am now. I'm somebody who gifts myself with dependable, consistent action every day. And I'm somebody I now depend on and I trust. And that builds your confidence. I love what Chase Hughes says. He gives himself gifts in the future that will make him look back and say, I am so awesome. I did that for myself. I am a badass. He'll do things like clean all the dishes at night before he goes to bed. And that way he comes down to a clean kitchen, gets his coffee all set up the night before so that it's already brewing when he comes down in the morning. At the end of winter, he'll put $100 into his winter coat so that next fall, when he puts the coat on, he's like, oh, look at that. I gave myself a gift. He pays it forward to himself so that he can look back and say, look how I took care of myself for now. And that's exactly what the right morning routine does for you. It builds that same confidence and trust in yourself where your nervous system starts to believe in you and depend on that you're consistent, that you will do the right things for yourself over and over. That's where it becomes life-changing. This is exactly why I developed the Morning Mindset Journal, because it's a starting point in your day that you can return to over and over again. Most of us, we don't need more steps. We need an intentional space that we can return to again and again. We need a place that grounds us, gives us direction to our day, and reinforces who we're becoming without pressure, overthinking, or needing to be perfect. Some mornings, it might take you 2 minutes. Other mornings, you might have time and you may want to go deeper. The point isn't doing it all. The space is there to do it all, but the point isn't doing it all, and it isn't doing it perfectly. It's creating a rhythm that your brain recognizes as, this is how I begin my day. This is the way I start off in alignment with this solid foundation that I'm going to build my day on. So instead of asking yourself, should I start journaling? Should I start getting up earlier? Should I do X, Y, and Z in the morning? Instead of asking those questions, remember that you are one of a kind, which means your routine should be one of a kind. The best routine for you is the one that you can personalize based on what you want out of your morning, what's going to make you feel most productive and effective to start your day. So rather than asking which routine should I do, begin to ask, what does the version of me that I'm growing into that's aligned with my goals and dreams, what does that version of me do in the morning? Start there first. Make it small, make it repeatable most days of the week, and make it all yours. Because you don't need a picture perfect morning. You just need one that you can come back to day after day that starts you off on the right foot. And once you land there, that changes everything. Now, if you already have a journal and you are a journaler, customize it based on what works best for you. You don't have to follow the prompts in the journal. Just tweak it so that you're doing the things that matter the most to you. If you don't have a journal, check out the Morning Mindset Journal. It's free. It's in the show notes. It is amazing. I love it. I think you'll love it too. And one day may be a few minutes, one day may be more. There's also space for evening reflection where you can look at what worked really well for you today and what you would like to tweak in the future. Maybe you got pretty irritated with something or someone and you would like to handle that differently. I find myself going back to that in the evenings to look inward and change how I respond as I go forward. I think you will love it as much as I do. And if you do, I want to hear about it. I always love to hear from you, so please let me know. And if you start using it and loving it, make sure you print out multiple weeks at a time so that you can get into a groove and it doesn't trip you up because you ran out of days. And put it in a 3-ring binder so you have a spot for it. Nothing sabotages an organized morning like having papers all over and having coffee on it or the dog gets it or whatever. So I have found putting it in a 3-ring binder, it keeps it protected, it keeps it in the spot I always want it in. It's really easy to go back to. I keep it in my bedroom, so it's the way I start my morning, and it's the way I end my evening. So thanks for joining me today. I always love being with you. I'll be back next week. In the meantime, if you got the journal, let me know what you think. Until then, stay pretty well. Bye.